Welcome to Energy with Eloka. I'm Dr. Chukwueloka, MD and CEO of Century Power Generation Limited. In my last video, I spoke about the value chain in the Nigerian electricity supply industry. Today, we're going to dig a little more into details. You may know of the recent agreement that was signed by the Nigerian government. It was a country-to-country agreement signed between the Nigerian government and the German government to have Siemens debottleneck the industry and increase our power generation capacity and supply capacity up to 25 gigawatts by the year 2025. Now, with this agreement, Siemens is meant to fix some of the problems in the generation part of the value chain by repairing some of the plants that are not working optimally. They're supposed to debottleneck the distribution networks and make some further investment or install some more equipment to increase their distribution capacity. They're also supposed to remove some of the bottlenecks in the transmission network that we have in the country. And finally, they're expected to do some work on the gas supply side as well. Now, like I said, all these things are meant to bring us to 25,000 megawatts by the year 2025. This is the year 2020. In the past month or so, the government signed to make a payment to Siemens about 15 million euros and about 1.7 billion naira. This is about 15% of their total agreed amount. The rest is supposed to come in loans from the German government. And I say this is a drop in the ocean compared to what is needed to help this sector grow. I say this because if we pick one asset, for example, the Azura Edo IPP that was built with a nameplate of 461 megawatts, they are currently, in my opinion, the best run power plant, the best built and the best operated power plant in Nigeria today. That plant was built in a budget of close to $1 billion. Now, this is one plant that produces about 10% of all the electricity that is supplied to Nigeria today. Now, imagine if we do what we have been saying, build up our capacity and install capacity to 42,000 megawatts. You imagine how much that will cost. That's just generation. On the gas supply side, I mentioned before that it costs over $200 million to build a gas processing facility that will supply gas to a power plant that produces about 400 megawatts of electricity. Then we go to the gas pipelines. A lot of money, hundreds of millions, are needed to create a proper gas network across the entire country. I mean, NNPC, the government is pushing to finish the OB3 pipeline and also finish the AKK pipeline that runs to the north. OB3 runs from the southeast to the southwest. But we need much more. We need many more pipelines to crisscross the entire country. And then there's, of course, the investment that's needed in distribution. Now, the government has pushed they're doing the MAP program, to have private companies provide meters at a cost. The Lagos government is now putting in some work as well to help meter those in Lagos. But this is a little bit of work. We need much more. Now, I say that the government has no business in business. In my opinion, the government needs to make significant investment in several different sectors of the country. Pick one, security. We know that we need a lot of work to beef up our security in the country, right? Then we go to roads. There are a lot of accidents every day. A lot of Nigerians get killed on Nigerian roads every day. And it's not always because we have bad drivers or drivers operating under the influence of alcohol or drugs. It's the roads. The roads are awful. So we need a lot of investment in roads across the entire country. This will actually help open up the country so that people in the rural areas can actually do business with the urban areas. Then we need a lot of investment in our hospitals. Government-owned hospitals in Nigeria used to be some of the best in the country. We had medical tourism. People will come from outside the country, other African countries, to come and receive healthcare in our teaching hospitals. Today, some of these teaching hospitals are, in my opinion, way below standard. And then a government that is serious about developing needs to invest massively in schools, technical schools, secondary schools, universities. Federal government colleges in Nigeria used to be the best colleges to go to in this country. I went to a federal government college. So back in the 90s, 80s, they were some of the best. Today, not so much anymore. Today, you also have universities. The federal-owned universities are poorly funded. Teachers are constantly going on strike. A lot of the teachers are leaving these federal universities to go to private universities or just go overseas. Right? So if we're serious about developing this country, we need to invest massively in education. So I think this is where the government needs to spend our money on. Back to the Siemens deal. NNPC is supposed to install about 4,000 megawatts of capacity in terms of power plants in the country before 2025. The money that we would spend on doing this will be better spent on improving the gas network in the country. NNPC's main job is oil and gas, not power generation. We have privatized the power industry. Why are we building power plants again as part of the government work? We need to properly privatize, leave that sector alone completely and focus on regulations that would encourage investment. Siemens is meant to install about 7.6 gigawatts of electricity in terms of power generation. That's okay. But I'm saying, you know what, we don't need to keep looking for government-to-government type agreements between Nigeria and other countries. We have Nigerian companies who have the people, Nigerians that are extremely smart, extremely knowledgeable in raising money, in designing the systems that are needed across the entire value chain in the power sector. We have people, Nigerians that are technocrats who know how to do these things and do them very well, and who know how to attract money to do all the work that's needed in this industry. We need these technocrats to help focus the country on doing this. We need a proper partnership between the private sector and the public sector to make these things happen. And you know what? I know the government has their heart in the right place. Some of the people in government are extremely intelligent, extremely smart, extremely knowledgeable in what needs to be done. But unfortunately, the voices are not being heard. Recently, now we're talking about the Azura Power, which is, in my opinion, one of the best project financed power assets done in Nigeria in the history that we know today. And now we're saying that the deal is probably not good for the country because of some of the agreements that were signed. Guys, I don't think that's coming from a place of knowledge. You have to first of all understand the agreements that were signed. They were signed in order to make this deal possible. And in my humble opinion, we need to replicate the Azura deal across the country. The World Bank supported this deal with a partial risk guarantee, a document that simply says, if NBET is unable to pay Azura for the power that they sell, the World Bank will step in and pay for it. And then the Nigerian government will have to pay back. If at some point the power plant has issues, maybe it's a force majeure issue or whatever, that lasts over a period of time, then the Nigerian government will buy that asset at the valuated price at that time, and it becomes our asset, Nigeria's asset. So we're not losing. So saying that we need to go back and look at Azura, guys, it's like rather than looking forward, we're looking backwards. We need to complete the privatization. Finish it. Remove the government's fingers from the power sector and focus only on regulation and let private sector do what they know how to do. I've said this more times than I can remember. Some other people have said the same thing. And again, I always end by saying we can't keep doing the same thing and hoping for a different result. There is money out there for us to make all the necessary investments in the value chain in Nigeria. The money also exists in Nigeria, some of it in private pockets. But people need to be encouraged to make investment. And you know, when I go back and look at this Azura deal, Nigerians are now questioning if this was good, if this was a good deal for Nigeria to have signed. And what that does is sending a signal to the private sector, it's sending a signal to foreign investors that when agreements are signed in Nigeria, they can't be trusted. That's bad for the country. That is worse to the country than anything else. So we need to stop doing things like that. Now people are also saying that the privatization of the power industry needs to be overturned. People invested their money in that privatization, a lot of money. Saying things like that also sends a signal to investors, private investors, that when the government signs agreements, we're going to renege on those agreements. That is bad for the country. I've received a lot of comments on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Twitter, and from different social groups about my last video talking about the value chain, about some of the articles that I've written, talking about the value chain and some of the things we need to fix. And the comments I've been receiving is, wow, we did not know, we didn't understand this before. So I encourage all Nigerians, go out and find information. There's a lot of information out there in the newspapers. Go to NERC's website. NERC has a very good website that provides a lot of information. Go to NBET's website. Those guys have put a lot of thoughts behind putting information out there for the public to learn from. Go to my Twitter handle, go to my Instagram handle, go to my LinkedIn page. You'll find a lot of information that I've started to put out there. I encourage Nigerians to get this information, educate yourselves, so that when you're speaking to those regulators that you get to speak with, you can speak from a place of knowledge. And I also encourage those in the government that don't know or that want to know more, please encourage a conversation with the private sector. We are willing to help. We are here and ready to help you to succeed, because when you succeed, we all succeed, and this is for Nigeria. Please feel free to reach out to me with your questions, with your comments on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Twitter at Dr. Eloka Ume, DRELOKAUMEH, all one word. And I'm always here to respond or to have a discussion. God bless Nigeria, and see you next time. Thank you.